Have you ever been part of a real movement? We've been experiencing movements during this pandemic. They are literally reshaping our culture and our organizations. Movements are like starfish. Cut a starfish in half, and both halves have everything necessary to regenerate new starfish. Movements grow through such viral reproduction. The church was initially conceived to grow as a decentralized, bottom-up starfish movement.
One of the starfish movements I had a small part of unfolded in a 10-year window in southern India. What started with a handful of like-minded starfish leaders training a team of about 30 ordinary folks multiplied into a movement of more than 2,000 microchurches, including over 180,000 new disciples following Jesus. It felt like we were experiencing just what the early church experienced in the book of Acts. It was amazing. One woman in that movement who was especially dear to my wife Michelle and I was Martha, a stay-at-home mom. Martha's village was near the interstate with a high rate of sex trafficking due to its location. While her kids were in school, she began to befriend the prostitutes, living like a missionary among them. New disciples emerged, then a microchurch, then a network of microchurches made up of former prostitutes and their families. Together, they opened up a new tailoring business to employ the women as seamstresses, and even in a patriarchal society like India, Martha emerged as a leader of a network of microchurches in less than 2 years. If you could see her smile and the smiles on the faces of those families, you taste and see the unleashed joy and flourishing of the church as a starfish movement, filling not services and buildings, but filling networks and neighborhoods with the beauty, justice, and good news of Jesus. It was amazing. See, modern stories like this from around the world are multiplied in the hundreds and thousands. And many of us here in the West are asking, well, why not us? Why not here? It's so breathtakingly beautiful. And I remember returning home to help lead the modern evangelical megachurch I pastored, and it gave me a feeling of whiplash. One Sunday I'm watching the Good Things Run Wild, a viral movement of reproducing disciples and microchurches sweeping the land, and then the next Sunday I was back to church as usual, with the emphasis on weekend services and programs for this and that, the next great relevant, catchy weekend series and more. You know the drill. Now don't misunderstand me. I was grateful for what God was doing in my church. The Spirit was using these means to draw people to Himself and move them into a relationship with Jesus. Yet against the backdrop of that disciple-making movement in India, by comparison, so few were being empowered to their maximum influence. And it hit me one day. If Martha met Jesus in my church in Indiana and walked our pathway, she probably would have ended up as a small group leader or volunteering a few hours a month. And how many Marthas were we inadvertently domesticating with our systems and structures?
Most churches have top-down structures that inadvertently squelch the possibility of a starfish movement. But another opportunity lies before us. Recapture the original starfish design of the church, quietly, mostly unnoticed. A tide turns and a remnant is growing in the Western world. Movements of disciple-making that are multiplicative and transformational are beginning to emerge right now. 20 years into the missional movement here in the West, working models are finally appearing after so many experiments and failures. COVID-19 has provided a needed wake-up call to turn our eyes toward other possibilities beyond the prevailing church growth and church planting models.
We've done our best to design our book, The Starfish and The Spirit, as a handbook for a simple and scalable framework that allows the Spirit to move, and in so doing turns disciples of Jesus into an unstoppable missional force. This was birthed out of many years of blood, sweat, prayers, tears, and obedience. Now, here in Kansas City, we have many stories of Marthas all over our city where we've continued to see new Discovery Bible studies, new disciples, baptisms, new microchurches, and even new networks of microchurches emerging and even accelerating during the pandemic. It's left us saying, long live the starfish.